If you love Carl Sagan and know when to use a 16-penny nail, you're in the right place. My name is Boone Tuggins, but everyone calls me Tug. This is the blue-collar skeptic, where common sense is king and bullshit don't stand a chance. First up, let's talk about what's going on in the world, because there's no shortage of nonsense out there. Minnesota Republicans want to classify Trump derangement syndrome as a mental illness. That's right, folks. If you get a little too fired up about the Donald, they might start writing prescriptions. Now, I don't know about you, but I think that's hilarious. I've met plenty of folks on both sides of the aisle who could use a little introspection before they start diagnosing others. Hell, if we're going to start labeling political rage a disorder, we might as well make Biden fatigue syndrome official too. Meanwhile, over in Ivory Coast, they're dealing with some real problems. The U.S. pulled $20 million in funding that was helping communities stay out of the hands of extremists. Now, I know foreign aid ain't a sexy topic, but here's a simple truth. When you cut off help to desperate people, the bad guys fill the void. That ain't rocket science. It's just how human nature works. But hey, at least we're saving money, right? And speaking of saving money, Trump and Musk are hacking away at government programs in the name of efficiency, calling it the Doge Initiative. Now, if they were actually trimming fat, I'd be all for it. But when you start yanking funds from safety agencies, medical research, and foreign aid that keeps terrorists at bay, you ain't saving money. You're just setting up disasters down the road. But don't worry, they'll send you a check for a couple $100 and call it a win. Then we've got a real gut punch for young scientists. Federal research funding is drying up, and it's hitting grad students and early career researchers the hardest. Imagine working your tail off to get into a PhD program, only to find out the funding disappeared because the government decided science wasn't worth the investment. Some of these folks are having their admissions yanked, research projects frozen, and career paths wiped out. I mean, come on. Do we really want the next Einstein heading to Europe because we'd rather fund tax breaks for billionaires than actual research? The way this is going, the only science left in America will be whatever some influencer is peddling on TikTok. All right, now let's fire up the bullshit detector, and today's topic is doing your own research. Look, I'm all for thinking for yourself. That's what this show is about. But too many folks think research means watching a YouTube video made by a guy in a trucker hat who just discovered Wikipedia last week. That ain't research, buddy. That's just getting yourself hypnotized by an algorithm that tells you what you already want to believe. Real research means digging into credible sources. It means understanding how information is put together, not just cherry-picking stuff that makes you feel right. You wouldn't let your Uncle Earl, who flunked high school biology, remove your appendix, right? So why trust him to explain climate science or vaccine safety? Let's keep our heads on straight, folks. So why do so many people fall for conspiracy theories? I'll tell you, it ain't 'cause they're dumb. It's because the world's complicated, and nobody likes feeling powerless. If you're struggling to pay bills and you see billionaires getting richer off your hard work, it's a hell of a lot easier to believe there's some secret cabal pulling the strings than to accept that maybe, just maybe, the system's just a little broken. But here's the kicker. Real conspiracies? They leave evidence. Watergate, COINTELPRO, the tobacco industry lying about cancer. All of those were real, and we know they were real because there was actual proof. Meanwhile, QAnon, the moon landing hoax, the idea that the earth is flat, that's just people stacking bad logic on top of bad logic, held together with duct tape and wishful thinking. If a conspiracy theory has been around for 50 years and there's still no smoking gun, it's probably not a conspiracy. It's just a bad idea that refuses to die. Ever notice how the same news story sounds totally different depending on where you hear it? That ain't an accident. Every news outlet, whether it's Fox News, CNN, or some random blog, your cousin swears, is the only place telling the truth. They all have an angle. The trick is spotting it. Here's a tip. If a news story makes you angry, before it makes you think, take a step back. Outrage is easy to sell. Nuance? Not so much. And if a story confirms everything you already believe, be twice as skeptical. Real information is complicated, and the truth is rarely as simple as this side good, that side bad. Now let's talk about a little trick for sniffing out nonsense. Occam's razor. It's just a fancy way of saying the simplest explanation is usually the right one. If you hear a story that requires a dozen people keeping a perfect secret for 40 years versus somebody just screwed up, odds are somebody just screwed up. It don't mean the simplest answer is always right, but it's a damn good place to start. All right, time to answer some listener questions. I just saw a video that proves the moon landing was fake. NASA can't explain why there's no stars in the pics. Wake up, sheeple. Buddy, let's take this step by step. First off, if you think you found the smoking gun that thousands of engineers, astronauts, and scientists somehow missed, you might want to pump the brakes. The reason you don't see stars in the moon landing photos is the same reason you don't see them when you take a picture of your backyard at night with your phone. Cameras adjust for brightness, and the surface of the moon is reflecting so much sunlight that the stars get washed out. You ever tried taking a picture of the night sky with an old camera? It's all about exposure. So unless you think Kodak was in on the conspiracy too, you might want to rethink that one. My cousin swears the government is controlling the weather with chemtrails. Says he saw a plane leave a trail in the sky that lasted for hours. How do I convince him he's wrong? This one's a classic. Your cousin's seeing contrails, water vapor from jet engines condensing in cold air. If it lingers, it just means the air's humid. It ain't a mind control experiment. But instead of just telling him he's wrong, try this. Ask him why the government would be spraying chemicals on everyone, including themselves. What's the goal? Why wouldn't they do it at night, where nobody could see? And if this is some secret operation, why would they use giant, obvious trails in the sky instead of, I don't know, the water supply? When you start poking at the logic, most conspiracies unravel pretty quick. First up, Tug. I swear, my buddy cured his arthritis by eating nothing but raw liver for a month. Is that real, or is he just gross? Buddy, I hate to break it to you, but your friend didn't cure nothing. Placebo effect is real as hell, and just 'cause he feels better don't mean it was the raw liver. It might just mean he's distracted from his pain, or that his body healed on its own. Either way, tell him to see a doctor before he gives himself a vitamin A overdose. That's it for today, folks. Remember, thinking critically ain't about being the smartest guy in the room. It's about being the one who ain't getting played. So until next time, stay skeptical, stay curious, and for the love of all things holy, check your sources before you hit that share button. This is Tug, signing off from the Blue Collar Skeptic. Y'all take care now.